Scoring within a scorecard is an interesting challenge since we're consolidating performance metrics with different units of measure and measuring different things. And in some cases, high values are good. In other cases, high values are bad, etc. So let's touch on some of the scoring that goes on about how organizations strive for and achieve various milestones. So the idea is all scoring is relative to some comparative. So examples of comparatives are things like their future fit, different levels of achievement, gold, silver, bronze, or whatever they might end up being. We can also compare it to, for example, our target for this year, or our actual performance last year, best in class, and so forth. They're all comparatives. In fact, this is why we call it a navigation scorecard. Think of navigating a boat where you look at stars and then you wait a known amount of time, measure how much they've moved. Well, of course, they haven't moved, you have, and you can do the mathematics to figure out the navigation, the direction and velocity of your boat. And we do the same thing by comparing our future fit progress against these comparatives. In fact, we're all aware of this diagram that we've seen many times, which talks about the current organization and some of those comparatives. Last year, other companies, short-term goals, and of course the stretch goal of future fit. Well, in fact, to overlay what I talked about in the previous slide, instead of the other company, we could add in industry best practices as an alternate comparative, or regional best practices, etc., cohorts, and so on. There's more to it than just future fit. We might want to look at regulatory requirements or industry standards and so forth. So a collection of comparatives, all of which are different levels of stretch for the current organization. So we can actually index our performance. So for example, I might say that I'm 90% of a particular metric inside of the future fit 21 goals. Or I might find that I'm 105% of where I was last year. I'm doing better than last year. Maybe compared to other companies, I'm 125%, much better. Compared to regulatory, I'm also 90%. Maybe regional best practices, I'm 95%, and so on. So these index performances give me a reading of how we're performing against those various comparatives. So the key scoring frameworks are either what I just described to you in that example, a percentage of the comparative. So for example, we're 67% of the future fit gold standard, or 96% of industry best practice. Or points. So what we could do is assign points. So for example, for the same metric, performance between 50 and 70% would earn me, say, 5 points. And a performance at 96% earns me 8 points. And so each area would be assigned a certain number of points, and the performance I achieve is allocated on that point basis. So we can talk about our performance relative to that gold standard of future fit. Now, the benefit of that is it shows us the progress towards that ultimate goal. But it may not be as motivating and engaging as we would like, because for some organizations, they may be so far away from that gold standard that the percentage they're at is demotivational. I'm at 5% of the target. Or they may find that their performance is so slow that they don't see a change over time, or their performance in fact is so high that, again, they can't see the change. We prefer setting targets relative to the current period that you're in. In fact, for many of our clients, they've even shifted from annual targets to quarterly targets. So when navigating now, the organization is not measured against that long-term ultimate goal, but instead against their nearer-term target. And this is far more engaging and inspirational for organizations as their goals are more achievable. So we're suggesting that perhaps we begin piloting the Future Fit business benchmark scoring as follows, using a point system to show that non-linear relationship between performance and progress, where all objectives for now are equally scored by category, and then each of the 21 categories are also equal, say for example 1,000 points per quarter.